Hello and welcome. My name is Florencia Colella. I am a farm business educator with Michigan State University Extension. In this video, we will go through an overview of QuickBooks and some of its close relative softwares. This project is funded by the United States Department of Agriculture and the North Central Risk Management Education Center. So what are some of the advantages of QuickBooks? Their website will tell you that it's easy to use. Lots of farmers or ranchers I've worked with would argue otherwise. But once you learn some of the basic commands, it's a relatively user-friendly program. Many accountants prefer it because the double entry feature allows you to create a good balance sheet, although it does have some shortcomings for inventory tracking like we will see in a minute. It has both cash and accrual-based systems, so you can have accounts payable and accounts receivable accounts, and it lets you create things like invoices and billing statements. It also has lots of report options. And finally, it has a reconciliation feature to streamline that monthly task. And what are some of the disadvantages? Accounting for certain asset inventories does not always work well for agriculture. You can make it work if you resell items, but it does not work very well when you're dealing with raised crops or livestock. It just doesn't understand how things can appear out of thin air. So you'll probably end up having to keep your inventory outside of QuickBooks. And then since it has both cash and accrual accounting systems all in one, it has this switching feature between cash and accrual based reports. And that transition just does not work really well because of the fundamental difference between the two systems. Some producers ask themselves, why not use Quicken instead? If you're wondering if it's worth your time and effort to switch over to QuickBooks, the answer is it really just depends on your type of business. Quicken is focused more on cash flow, so it's hard to produce a balance sheet, and it's not accrual based, so you don't have accounts payable and receivable. QuickBooks does have a better payroll feature. And when you're starting out, setting up QuickBooks is really just as easy as setting up Quicken, and it's probably going to benefit you more in the long term. If you are using Quicken right now, or if you are set on starting with Quicken and may consider switching to QuickBooks at a later time, the conversion is pretty easy. So what about QuickBooks Online? Well, it also has some pros and cons. The pros are that it can be accessed from any location on multiple devices, and it's easy to share information with partners, accountants, or anybody else you may want to share your books with. It has automatic updates and data backup and infinite storage. In general, service-based businesses work pretty well on this platform. For example, if you want to be able to pull up QuickBooks while you're in the middle of a field working with a customer, create an invoice and email it to them directly, QuickBooks Online will work pretty well for you. It also has some disadvantages though. It lacks some of the desktop features. You have reduced control over the data, and it requires reliable, fast internet access. It has a payroll feature, but the desktop version works a lot better for that. Finally, a big disadvantage is that if you have multiple companies, you will be charged multiple subscriptions. What I mean by this is I could go out today and buy QuickBooks Desktop Pro for around $200, and I can use it for multiple companies and keep it for multiple years. In contrast, QuickBooks Online charges a monthly subscription of around $35 a month for the Plus version, which has more features that are comparable to the desktop version. So you're going to be spending about $400 just for 1 year, and that will be for one company. So if you have separate companies for crops versus cattle, for instance, that's going to cost you two QuickBooks Online subscriptions. So it can get expensive really fast. In this video, we pondered the advantages and disadvantages of QuickBooks Desktop and some alternative softwares that have historically been part of the same package, QuickBooks Online and Quicken.